whakarongo ki te tangi a te korimako. Kōrero flowing out the hook of force. Kaupapa relevant, kaupapa out of bounds, kaupapa exigent, kaupapa paramount. Nā ko nā whakapiri mai ki te kaupapa tino whakahira hira whakarongo pi kari kari mai. Hare hare mai, o Taringa hare hare mai. We gotta gather up close everybody, gather up close everybody. Kani move that body, kani move that body.
E ngā iwi katoa o te motu, tēnā koutou katoa, nau mai hoki mai. Welcome back to our punua pāho. Taringa e whakapāho atu ana I te pī ki taone nui rawa atu o Te Awa Mutu, under the auspices of Te Wānanga o Te Aroa. Here we are again, myself and Tariao, and we'd like to welcome our guest, Tō Māua Hoa, Lyndsay, a.k.a. Snow, a.k.a. Te Puaheiri. Kua tae mai, e hoa e mihi ana ki a koe.
Tēnā kōrero, tēnā koutou te hunga are.
Ai, te hunga are mai o koutou taringa ki a mātou. And before we get into our kaupapa kōrero today, under Tikanga 101, we're going to have te kiwaha o te wiki. And I'm going to challenge my friends here this morning, it is morning, to use this kiwaha throughout our kōrero today. And our kiwaha today is Ana. Beautiful ne te iwi. So just 3 letters, A-N-A, with a macron over the A, the
Over
first
the first A, yeah.
Yeah. Ana. He ha te ana.
Ana's like hard, like I tautoko that.
Yeah, tautoko that. He ha no pe te tai e ho.
An assertiveness,
Assertiveness, yes. So an agreement.
An agreement, yeah.
Yep.
An emphasis.
You can hear the intonation. Ana. So I might say to Tariao, did you have a good weekend, Tariao?
Ana.
There you go. And I'll say to Snow, bro, how's the gym been going? Good?
Ana. Ana. Koina te painga o ngā kiwaha Māori ei kei, e ara I te mea kei te kupu, kei te whakawhiu ei.
Yeah.
Te wairua o te whakawhiu.
Yeah.
Whera I tētai kianga no te raki, no te kōtu. Mainga. Ka tāpuri ki ngā horopaki katoa, man.
Te mainga.
Te mainga. Mainga. Mainga.
Yeah.
Whera I te ana.
Snow's alluding to another kiwaha, mainga, which comes from te taitoke rau, koe nā tana iwi. Meki, ko nā puhi tana iwi. Nō reira, e mihi ana kia koe hoa.
Kia ora,
Whaiwahi mai. So that's our kiwaha mo te rā, ana. Ko tā tātou kaupapa kōrero e te iwi. We're in Tikanga 101, and on the paper here, we have got Whaikōrero. So we're going to be having a bit of a chat about Whaikōrero, perhaps unpack some of the tikanga protocols, customs to do with Whaikōrero in this session of ours. And as I've said, a lot of the kōrero we have is introductory and is to inspire you to go and talk to other people, learned people within your whānau or your hapu or your iwi or your friends, and it might just invigorate you to know a bit more. So we're going to be talking about Whaikōrero I te rā nei. So koe nā tātou kaupapa, ko te Whaikōrero. So I'm going to throw it over to Snow. Pehe o whakaaro mo te Whaikōrero e hoa. What are some tikanga that ground you in Whaikōrero? Kua tīmata koe ki te tūkirunga I te marae.
Yep.
You've started doing Whaikōrero on behalf of your whānau and I roto I te mahi a hātu.
Right.
So what are some 101, tikanga 101 that someone should know when they start out on the Whaikōrero, path of Whaikōrero?
First and foremost, tō reo. Be grounded well in your reo. For me, perhaps my entry point is different in Whaikōrero compared to some. I wasn't lucky enough to grow up in the marae at the feet of my kaumātua kuia, because there was a whole generation gone. And so then it was by getting thrown under the bus, really. Standing up is like, oh, boy, you can speak Māori, time for you to do public speaking. Hey, so imagine, so, if I'm touching on the question, I'm just trying to find my thoughts in it, because it's from experiences in my point of view, experiencing the bad, experiencing the good, and getting pointers of people. But being well versed into reo, that's a given. Being humble with yourself too. I've learned that many a times. Ka tū koe te whakaiti. And when you're genuine with your kōrero, when you're genuine from your heart, there's not much that you can do wrong, or in the eyes of perhaps your audience or who you're speaking to, especially if you're acknowledging them. Speak from the heart and acknowledging the right people in the right manner. There are things, you want to be versed in. So the place that you're going, you want to, do your rangahau. Yeah. Don't stand up, and if you're not sure about something, don't go down that way. Don't say the wrong hapu or the wrong marae. I've seen one kaumātua come to a hui mate, come to a tangihanga, and ka tuku ia I ana kupu aroha, and ka taiki te tūpāpuku o tangata rereke. We've gone to the wrong, but still.
Oh, ne.
Yeah.
Oh, ka aroha.
Ka aroha, man. They go, down the road, meant to be down the road. Hoi no e, inga I tuku ia ngā aroha ki te whānau. But I think so. I think humility is a big thing. Knowing your stuff, got to know your stuff, especially if you're speaking on behalf of some people. I heard on your Tikanga, I think episode 8, about getting to know who you are speaking on behalf of when you're outside at the back, having the hui before the hui. Most important hui is the one before the hui, and getting their permission. And sometimes you can tell, by the way, well, kuia are pretty good, They keep speakers on their toes, I've heard some, they ka taki whakapapa te kaumātu, you can hear, kei te he. Or that you can tell in the songs. You do your own song. I don't agree with what you said. Yeah. That's when you can try and pull it out, depending on your audience. Yeah.
It's such a big responsibility.
Oh, it's a big responsibility, and especially, so my experience was our cousin, he passed away a few years ago now, cancer, 38 years old. And my mum's generation said, we're leaving it up to you cousins to take care of the tangihanga. Lyndsay, you're our kōrero. And straight into the deep end, spoke on behalf of my family. And so it's through those experiences where you're like, yep, this is a big responsibility. Yeah. Do it through purity and all that stuff. Yeah.
Talking about the responsibility of a practice which is hundreds, thousands of years old, I roto I te ahurea Māori within Māori culture, and something that's uniquely Māori. So Whaikōrero is traditional Māori oratory, and there's patterns you follow, but at the same time, in this day and age, the pū kōrero, or the speaker, he's got to be flexible too.
Yeah.
And being able to incorporate, mix some of today's culture, I guess, into his whaikōrero, while upholding the tikanga of the whaikōrero, and let's say the status quo, but what we deem to be the pattern that makes a whaikōrero. So, for instance, most pū kōrero will mihi to te atua, ngā mate, the kingitanga, perhaps, depending on where you are. If you're in Tūwhareto, you might mihi to te ari ki te heuheu. Right. And then the kaupapa, the whare, koe rā mea katoa. And the skill of the pū kōrero is seen in how he is able to tie all of those things together, and with them maintaining the flow. Te wairua, te ia o te kōrero. So it's a huge, huge responsibility. I can sort of imagine how you would have felt when you were sort of pushed up there to do that.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been taught whaikōrero, I mean, I'll talk about my hapu. Now, a lot of my uncles and older Whaikōrero really told me they weren't taught to whaikōrero. They have the reo, but I haere rātou ki nā taone in the 50s, 60s, and they stayed there, mostly Auckland. I roto i tō mātou whānau. Some went to Pōneke. Nā ka haere o mātou pāpā ki te mahi nā wāpū i nā wheketere ihia rānei. And while they had the reo, they weren't actually taught how to do whaikōrero. And same thing, they come home for something and they're pushed up there. He boy, he tū. And then they make all the mistakes, and then they get, well, I don't see it now, but I heard of ones getting told off. And, kare I tika o kōrero, and yet they were pushed up by those people that are telling them off.
That's what I mean. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And then there's some expectations sometimes, and sometimes I think there's a disconnect from some of what our kaumātua expect of our kids. Like they expecting them to know it all, or wait for them to do something wrong and then they get blown up. That happened to me at my marae when my auntie passed away. We did something wrong and our kaumātua was there. And he sat there and he didn't say a thing for the whole hui until te rā nehu got a growling. And my reply, I got angry, but I, whakatau, settled myself and then asked if I may reply. And he said, yep. I stood up and I replied and I said, I ask you as your mokopuna to arahi ia mātou. Kau e tātari You know, mo tētahi mea ka taka ki te he. Don't wait for don't be the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. You know, it's with aroha and compassion that I ask you this, that you guide us through these things.
And a lot of those things are gained with experience. Eh?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the kawa now, of Whaikōrero. And of course, there's two different templates, I guess, we follow. I roto i te ao Māori. One is paeke, which is where all of one side stands up first, usually the tangata whenua, so the home crowd. And then the visitors, the manuhiri. So ko te paeke tērā. Although I know in Whanganui, if it's a tangi, the paeke switches.
Yeah.
And it's the tangata whenua that speak first, and then the manuhiri first, and then the tangata whenua.
Oh, okay.
E te mea ko rātou whakaaro, the manuhiri have come from all over. They come from some distance to mihi ki te tūpāpaku, so it should be given to them first.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have taututu, which is correctly should be 1 for 1.
Yeah.
So starting on the home side and then alternating between the home and the tangata whenua and the manuhiri, and then with the tangata whenua finishing off. But these days, mohi ana tātou, sometimes the tangata whenua haven't got the same amount of speakers.
Yeah,
so
they haven't got the right split, eh?
Yeah.
So now a 3-2 split or
we
a
see a lot
5-4
of
split.
the, I'm going to give you the rākau,
Yeah.
which is the metaphorical stick, symbolic of the Māori, I guess.
Aye, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be given over. But I remember, just talking about experience, I remember the first time I went to a pōwhiri, and it was ko te kawa, ko te paeke. I found it quite interesting, and I thought it was quite weird.
Yeah. Well, it is, because there's not a chance for rebuttal through paeke. It's almost as if it is could be a disadvantage for one side.
Yeah.
Though it is done up my ways, I think.
Talking about that, this is an example of where I've seen a paipai rebut a kōrero. So he haramai te manuhiri, and it was paeke. Tangata whenua spoke, and then the manuhiri spoke, and they said some things that kare pai ki te tangata whenua. Anyway, the manuhiri went for kai. When they came out, some of them sat on the marae, and one of the kai kōrero of the tangata whenua knew that they were still there, and they went back to their kaupapa.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, true.
And directed their kōrero at the manuhiri, but knew that past manuhiri were listening.
Oh, yes. Yep.
okay.
And he gave it to them, man.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's clever.
That's clever.
But, most times you wouldn't get a chance.
Yeah.
I think paeke is more difficult because this is how I look at it when I go onto a marae. I look at it like a court case.
Yeah.
And we're lawyers.
Yeah. Nah, tika.
Of opposing sides.
And to be dressed as such as well.
Yeah. If you're paeke, you've got to have a bloody good case.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to make a really, really good case. There can be no holes in it because you can't go back.
Yeah.
You've given the time and that's it, you know. So that's how I see you've got to give a really, really good case as a lawyer, thinking in that context. Tūhoi, I'm not sure if it's mātātua, but I know tūhoi refer to this as building your whare kōrero.
Aye, yeah.
So making sure your whare is strong.
Tight, yeah.
And there's no way that anybody can pull your whare down. Yes, I think paeke is actually more difficult.
Yeah.
And, about the lawyer's clothes, I remember, growing up and, my uncles would be, they'll have a shirt and stuff on, but they'll have gumboots.
Yeah.
I'm of the belief that you should make an effort to dress nicely, mo te whaikōrero. Sometimes, in some instances, even though, sometimes you got to have a pretty good reason if you're just going to be getting up in jeans and stuff.
Yeah.
But most of the time, you're prepared to be a speaker, so you should, at least go with a nice pants, a shirt and things. Now, I've heard the argument, well, our tupuna didn't wear suits and things like that. Well, come in your kahu kiwi then.
Yeah.
Come in your kiwi feather cloak and your
Haru mai me tō Māoritanga.
Yeah. We found clothes befitting today.
Yep.
And in the context, that match what our tupuna would have
Me
worn.
rangatira, eh?
Yeah, me rangatira te tū.
Ana.
I think so too. I'm of that belief as well that if you sound as good, you should just look as good as well. It's e me mea whakamana.
Aye.
That's what I think, integrity and stuff. Go as flash as you want. But track pants and Crocs, nah.
No.
Don't cut it.
It should be
Crocs never.
Yeah, Crocs never. They're comfy though. I must say, they're comfy.
Sorry, all of you that love Crocs.
Guilty pleasure, they're comfy. But I think so too,
Those shoes shouldn't be allowed out in public, honestly.
Nope. The tan lines and the holes.
Pewhia o whakaaro tario mai te, as an observer, being a wahine,
Alright.
What are some things that sort of spring to mind when you're seeing men do the whaikōrero today? From your viewpoint too, as a, because Tariao's much, much younger than me and Snow. So pehe o whakaro, what are some things that sort of jump to mind?
Koina te mea nui ki a, there has to be a point to your kōrero. Kaua e kōrero mo te kōrero noa, mo te tū noa.
Yeah.
Kia kite ai koe te marea. And also, whakaute i ngā tikanga. Like, if you're manuhiri, just respect the tikanga of the iwi that you're going to.
Definitely.
That's probably one of my big things.
We took my auntie to Parihaka. She went back down and
Oh, yeah.
And I text you, text Brown.
Oh, that's right.
Text you, I'm like, what? We know how te tikanga o
Yeah,
tēnei.
yeah.
And he goes, haere me tō manawa. I'm like, yeah, true. And they were easy too. And it was, koi tēnā tangata no Taranaki e mātanga reo. He was there. Ruakere, yeah. Very receptive. I think a lot of people are receptive to see a younger person, well, in comparison to you, a younger person doing it. And there's times when you get the, I'll take this one, son. You get those ones. Yeah.
There's much more encouragement these
there
days.
There is, yeah.
I remember the first time I got up, there was still a lot of kaumātua alive.
Yep.
And some of these ones I got up in front of were the guns of the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was nervous, very, very nervous, shaking in my boots actually. But my uncle told me to get up. And I don't see it that much these days, but I remember when, this is in the 90s, I remember seeing some other teenagers that had been encouraged to get up. Their kaumātua would get up before them and say, I'm going to get my mokopuna up, or they're going to speak for us.
Yeah.
So then the other side, whether it was manuhiri or tangata whenua, knew, because I've seen kaumātua get angry with the rangatahi getting up.
Yep.
And I think that's another tikanga. If you're going to ask somebody to get up, then you should have their back.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Because I wouldn't stand the rangatahi up or someone who's learning and then let them get shot by the other side. Sort of a thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's one tētahi āhuatanga hei whakaaro mā tātou.
Aye.
But it's much more receptive these days, and there's speakers are encouraged to get up. We had an instance just at our marae a couple of weeks ago. We had a wedding, and the day before the wedding, the father-in-law of my niece arrived to our pā. And my nephews and that, we've had practice whaikōrero on the marae. I got home from the nehu early one time, and they were mucking around on the marae, and they said, uncle's here. And I said, hei te pai haere tonu.
Yeah.
And I said to them, right, this is what you do, this. And it was good. Well, they ended up doing a mihi. They had and this manuhiri was from South Africa. And what was neat was these boys, and they're boys.
Yeah.
They're not even, I think they're not even 10.
Oh, true.
Yeah, the young boys,
And I think it was I might be wrong in saying it was a good manuhiri to practice on.
E wāhi haumaru.
And it was
a good
marae.
time,
And the name of our paipai is Te Mapu o Te Rangatahi. So who's going to tell them no?
Yeah.
And they were, when I saw them the next day, they all wanted to tell me. Well, the whole whānau did actually.
Yeah.
But these boys told me, and they says, Anko I pēnei mātou. That warmed my heart.
Yeah, I remember seeing those photos, and even when you were taking them before, it was actually really touching, because watching them, you get all giggly and stuff, like, we're doing this, but they were taking it serious. You can see the intent was genuine. It was really touching to see that. It was really cool.
So some words of support to ki etahi o koutou e whakarongo mai nā koutou tānema, starting out on the whaikōrero. Ko te reo te mea nui. So you should really have a good command of the language. But I know I was one that was never into the learnt whaikōrero. But I've sort of swayed in that I've seen that for a lot of my uncles and cousins, that's the sort of doorway into te ao whaikōrero.
Yes.
So I wrote whaikōrero, but you should really have a good command of the language, because then you feel confident when you go out on the marae. Kia tika nā kākahu. And just to reiterate, Taria was talking about the ngako. So the kaupapa of why you're getting up. Make sure you've got something to speak about.
Yeah.
I go to a lot of hui and a lot of pōwhiri, and sometimes there's an excess of 20 speakers. And everybody just ends up sounding the same.
Oh. Yep.
So, if I've got nothing new to add to the discussion or to the kōrero, then I won't get up. Kareipirangi mo te tū noiho.
Yeah.
Hea no etahi kōrero arataki tikanga rānei i nā kai kōrero hou?
Yeah, to remember that if your whānau have put you up there, the best thing is knowing that they've got your back. And a lot of times you are speaking, and sometimes it can be discouraging. No one knows what you're saying, which I find really discouraging sometimes. But you are there because your whānau put you there. And the other thing is, it's public speaking. So, it's going to be nerve-wracking, especially. So you imagine now, a lot of our people that aren't as fortunate as we, and they've just started to learn a language, and then they're getting thrusted upon public speaking. So imagine those instances. So you remember that you've been put up there and they've got your backing. That's probably the best thing I feel. Almost a sense of fearlessness without being cocky, you know.
And believe in yourself.
Yeah. Well, you are your universe. You are your universe, so you give yourself permission to be great.
Deep,
mate, I've been talking about Dr. Joe Dispenza. Look him up, he's a good read.
Does he do whaikōrero?
He tells the mind too.
Sounds good.
For to encourage the ones to be confident in yourself. Before you know it, you're sitting down and they're singing your song. That's the other thing in terms of encouragement. If you put someone up there, have their song ready. I tell my whānau, I said, I go through some links to try and learn kōrero. So when we stand, we've got to think, can you back me up by learning some?
At least, eh?
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference on someone that's been put up there by their whānau. I think they should have. That's a way of supporting the kai kōrero.
Yes, yeah.
On the other side of that too is that there's some kai kōrero that take that for granted and it's an expectation.
Yeah.
And I've seen some kai kōrero get up, crow as well, and they turn around and they say, hey, wait. And I've seen the kuia, and sometimes they sit there and they're like, no, we're not going to sing your song.
Yeah.
I've seen that recently. One of the kuia goes, you sing your own song.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yes, dear.
Yeah.
And because there's nothing more reassuring than, when a big ope gets up and sings your song and you're like, thank you, ko whai.
I'm winning in the ana, guys.
Yeah.
You're winning in the ana.
bloody
I've dropped 2 so far.
Yeah, it's nice, done a couple.
No.
As you're talking about the universe, tētahi o aku mahi, I like to have a little karakia.
Yep.
I mean, I karakia every day, but if I'm going to somewhere that I'm not familiar with, or there's a big kaupapa that I could be speaking at, I like to have a little karakia just to myself.
Yep.
But it's a good idea not to do that while the manuhiri's sitting across from you, because it can look a bit suspect.
Yeah.
When your lips are moving.
Kei te mahi manea.
Yeah. Kei te mahi whaiwhai a.
Yeah, whaiwhai a.
So we're talking about makutu people, black magic, and those whakaro are very much a part of te ao Māori.
Yep.
That's another thing to those learning the whaikōrero. Don't be sitting there on the paipai practicing your tau parapara before you get up. You shouldn't be practicing it minutes before seconds.
Yeah. It's too late. It's too late. You're like, oh, what's that one again?
Yeah.
I remember we spoke about this at a kōrero. You were like, if you're learning a new one, try it a few times in the shower, and on the way to the drive home. Yeah, have it ready. Don't try and whip it out that day that you want to use it.
And then some of the other tikanga that I was told, and there's obvious ones that don't put your hands in your pockets.
Yeah.
That's not a chiefly way to stand anyway.
Yeah.
Regardless of whatever culture you are, you shouldn't be standing there with your hands in your pockets. So I like to have one hand on my hip when I do the whaikōrero. If I haven't got a toko or patu or anything, I'll have one hand on the hip, and my other hand, my right hand, is my talking hand.
Oh, yes. Yep.
That's the hand I used to do the actions with and accentuate with.
Because the left hand has stigma, eh?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the ukoi.
Yeah.
The ringa ukoi, yeah.
It's for your bam.
Yeah.
Well, apparently.
Yeah.
E sa koe nā etahi āhuatanga, etahi tikanga. Kia u ki te kaupapa, we've talked about that.
Yep.
Kaue e kōtiti, don't go all over the place.
Yeah.
Kaue e pahu, so don't ramble.
Don't ramble, yeah. Especially if you're grasping, trying to clutch for straws. I've heard one, there's no climax or there's no ngako at the end of their kōrero, and you're like, oh, this should be good, and then it just ends flat, and you're like, oh, wow. Where were you going on that?
As a pū kōrero, I know when I've reached the zenith within my kōrero, and it can't get any better than what I've said.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So waiho I kona. And another thing for me is after the waiata, if I've forgotten anything, then too bad.
Oh, yeah.
For me, the waiata is it.
Because I've always joked about that or asked about that. I'm like, how long is it too much when you've got something to add after a...
Yeah, because maybe we talk about some whaikōrero peeves. So this is one of my whaikōrero peeves, is when a speaker says Kāre toia ngā kōrero ki aro, or kāre kumia ngā kōrero.
3 hours later.
Yeah, that means I'm not going to go, oh no, that's enough, I've said enough. And then they keep going on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah, or they say, you know, ka whawhati te kakao o te paipa, all of that sort of kōrero.
Yeah.
So that's one of my peeves. What's one of your peeves?
Pet peeves are e tautoko ana ngā mihi ko mihia.
Yeah.
You know, well, is that all you got to add?
Yeah, tautoko i ngā kōrero katoa. Ko tāku he tautoko noiho.
Yeah.
Hei tāpiri noa, those things. If you genuinely don't have anything to say, then you don't have to. I was up at a hui in the Hokianga, and they were going around the house. And with my aunties and uncles, I sort of felt an expectation to stand up. And they said, well, how come you didn't stand up? Well, I said, I didn't have anything to add. Yeah, ko te kaya te rangatira, te kōrero, kaya te ariki, ko te whakarongo. Who, you can have that one. You can have that one, Tareo.
I'll put that in my pocket.
Yeah.
It's a free one?
It's a free one, yeah. Pēhea te korokoro.
Well, that's a device of the speaker to you know, sort of gather their thoughts. They do a bit of a cough. We had a wānanga on the weekend, and we had a mo te kapahaka, and we had a pōwhiri for the new ones that came. And I put up one of my whanaunga. He's just started to whai kōrero. And there was one part there, I was like, I got a bit worried because there was a lot of coughing going on. And I know he was trying to gather his thoughts. Yeah, so, you know, a pause on the marae for any longer than 3-4 seconds is like an eternity.
Yeah.
Where you go
like
from
hours.
Yeah, where you go from being held in suspense to a bit of sympathy. You're like,
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, this is good, this is dramatic. Oh no, okay, he's having a hard time here.
So sometimes that can be a pet peeve of mine if there's more coughing than kōrero.
Yeah. Pēhea ngā te whakamahi a ngā pōtai i runga i te marae.
How do you mean?
Because are there instances as where I know some people believe not to show the inside of your hat,
Yeah.
where to put it down and how to use it.
Yeah, I'm quite fussy how I use my pōtai and even how I hold it. Because, well, one, how to use it in the whaikōrero, and two is you don't want to damage your hat because those are expensive hats.
Yeah.
I think that's another echelon of whaikōrero now we've gone up. If you're at a stage when you're using props on the marae, so hats and patu. It's interesting you bring that up. The past koro neihana, Herewini Parata said to me, he says, you need a patu. He says, how you use your hat on the marae, you know, you should use a patu. Anyway, later, we sat together, and it was a pōwhiri, I'm not sure if it was in Gisborne or Wellington. Anyway, Whaikōrero was the speaker, and he took off his shoe.
Oh, well.
His jandal, which you see a lot of today, that people use as a patu, so he took that off. Well, afterwards, he was berated for doing that, and the kōrero said to him, I didn't come here to be welcomed by your shoe.
Yes, yeah.
Which I think is a very Māori way of looking at that. We had that conversation, and then blow me down, within a couple of weeks, I've seen a few people do it.
I did too.
Use their shoe.
Yeah.
But I'd never thought anything of it before.
Yeah. I've seen that twice. One from a person who I guess probably wasn't of the same knowledge. I mean, someone like Whaikōrero, if he did it, who am I to say? But the other kaumātua saying that, you know, it was fitting. But I've seen that twice and been probably pretty, to be honest, embarrassed about it. Going, you know, as much as you want to express yourself, that's not a good way.
Yeah.
And when you say if you do hold rākau and that, you must be very well versed in it,
Yeah.
You know, be ready to be applauded and also challenged. I think it shows a bit of confidence when you can do that. Yeah. I'd like to see something like, say, a harmonica perhaps being held, or a taonga puoro being held, if that's right, if you can do that, or if it's accepted.
I've used a fan, you know, during my whaikōrero. But flamboyant. But you choose your audience to do that within the time as well.
Yeah, I think when you are doing that stuff and the way you do carry yourself, you have to have some awareness about it. I've had instances where I've started to slouch and my tone of voice has gone down, and it's either wrap it up or come on. You know. Yeah. I remember, I'll tell you one time. Prane was there. This was at whariki. Whariki is our, what do we call whariki?
It's our
like induction?
sort of. It's like our birthing into the organisation.
So when you come to our organisation,
reinvigoration.
You get a 2-day workshop learning about the place that you work in. Anyway, I was the kai kōrero there, and
that's right.
I jinxed myself because I said, it's just whariki, this will be easy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then Brownie stood up, and then I stood up and I just rabbled, just went,
Yeah.
and because I was like, oh, that's what you get, going in cocky.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's like, oh man, nah, you should know that. You should know that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that
But
too.
I do that too. I've done that too.
Yeah.
You know, not thinking, oh, this is such and such kaupapa, but not preparing myself.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
though
yeah.
I know I'm probably going to be the speaker.
Yeah.
Those experiences are humbling and they sort of bring you back to earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
You
humbling,
know,
yeah.
It sort of reminds you, hey, yeah, you might have been doing the whaikōrero for a while now, but preparation is a
Yeah.
big one.
Big
I mean, we've talked
yeah.
about rangahau research.
Yeah.
Wherever I go, even though the speakers might have already been sussed out or whatever, you know, I go prepared to an you know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
at
I
least
do
know.
that as well.
Yeah.
With karanga, even though I haven't done a karanga on a marae,
It's been
I'll
really,
still,
Yeah.
try and prepare myself as much as I can.
I use the
Just
term,
in case.
Yeah, I use the term keeping your blade sharp. Always keep your blade sharp.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it was a very humbling experience. And you have your self-talks and you're going, you know that. But that's what you get.
Yeah.
You know? Ko te mea nui kia hau nei te whaikōrero ko te wheako.
Yeah.
You know, e mea ako. You know, mea ako I tētahi ngā wheako.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some good resources for people to listen to, whaikōrero. Ngā taonga, Sound
Yeah.
and Vision, have put out a whole lot of stuff. So if you find that website at te iwi, and you can listen to some of the rangatira
Yeah.
of yesteryear at some of the particular hui, and you'll hear the evolution of whaikōrero, because whaikōrero has evolved and it is still evolving.
Yep.
That's a good resource. I think Radio New Zealand have got the Poroporoaki series.
Yes, those are going.
Those are
Yeah,
cool,
so
eh?
we've got the likes of Kepa Ehau,
Yeah.
Whati Tāmati.
And that's the one in Tamati Kruger and them, they dissect the me. And
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Tamati Kruger,
Yeah.
the late Luka Broughton,
Aye.
and Wiremu Pāka.
Aye, yeah.
And they're quite interesting to listen to. We might get to that point one day when we listen to someone's whaikōrero and then we can sort of dissect it and have a bit of a wānanga.
Oh
so,
man, that's what I love. And it's always at the hui mate of our tani whahikuroa. I don't know if anyone else feels the same, but I get excited because I'm going, man, they're going to be stacked. There's going to be some
Yeah.
mean kōrero going on.
Then there was the series that was on Whakaata Māori,
Yeah,
Whaikōrero.
whaiorewis. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
which is completely in te reo, but it's another good resource. And then as Te Puaheiri was saying, getting out there and actually going to the hui, we probably sound a bit nerdy and then we're going, oh yeah, we get to listen.
Yeah, man, but
That's
it is.
our culture. That is
Yeah.
te ao Māori. I
Yeah.
mean, whaikōrero is a big part of who we are.
Yeah.
Huge part of who we
Yeah.
are as Māori. And whaikōrero is a part of everything we do. It's in our tangihanga.
Yep.
It's in our, everything. Pōwhiri, mihi. We've talked about mihi. In essence, whaikōrero is mihi.
Yep.
So, we encourage you to go to hui, to listen. Te te au kutino hoa, Pakake, he's always got his notebook with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their whole whānau, actually, and that's something that his father got them into when they were young.
Oh,
boys.
yeah, so they're note takers
Yeah.
from June.
One of the kōrero who was a mentor to me, he was in his 90s when he passed away. He told me to keep a notebook
Yeah. I
of
do that on
things.
my
And
phone
now I've got
Yeah.
my phone, so
I'm
that's
trying
what
to look
like.
up.
My
I'm
notes.
trying to look up someone because I'm like, yeah, that's a mean. Oh, I've deleted them. They must be on the thing. But like, oh, that's a mean one. I'll use
Yeah,
that. Oh,
write it
I'll
down,
need to
eh?
ask Brown what he said, what he meant by that.
Yeah, sometimes it might only be one word or a
Yeah.
reference to
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I think the most elaborate mihi or the real taonga are in the kupu, ngā poroporoaki. Ngā kōrero poroporoaki, the way
Yeah.
you can relate to stars, constellations and stuff like that. I think it's amazing. I think it's beautiful the way that you can do that. And how one can segue into the next bit of kaupapa.
That's the second time you've used that word. It's a trendy word of the time.
Is it?
Segway, yeah.
Segway.
Morgan uses it all the
Oh, is
time.
it? No.
Kia ora mōkena.
I thought I was trendsetting.
Anyway, sorry.
I think that's a skill in itself.
Yeah.
Known to be able to segue into something. What else? If you're the last speaker that you put the koha down,
Yeah.
we went to this hui mate and I went around, I got given the kōpaki. So I spoke and there was a karaua there and I asked him if he was going to speak and he goes, no, you speak for us. And then I put the koha down at the end of my kōrero. And then he stood up and spoke. I went, oh, he got me in trouble. They were going, oh, koine e tohu o te kai kōrero whakamutunga, hoi. E aroha atu ana ki a koe.
Made you look dumb.
Yeah, made me look dumb. So, and then upon reflection, I'm like, perhaps I didn't say something Did I leave him out or something like that? Yeah.
Well, sometimes that goes on too, though, the jostling, I call it the jostling of the koha.
Yeah.
At the gate, like who's going to be the last speaker, and it can get handed to 10 different people before.
Yeah.
So ai aroha atu ana kia koe.
Yeah. A literal passing of the buck.
Yeah.
Another good resource is Whaikōrero by Dr. Poia Rewi.
Yeah, it's a great read. I mean, my mum buying it for me. We buy books for each other.
Yeah.
And that was one of my first book. I even got Poe signed it in the front cover. He pīkarere he wrote. But what it tells you are things that you already know. You know, there's the nuances and stuff that you need to learn. There's kōrero that you need to learn. But there's things that are very practical. And one thing I must say, and that one should never forget, anyone that's doing it or observing it, is that you're in a spiritual realm. You're tying things in a spiritual sense. And in te ao Māori, kore tae te wehe, aua āhuatanga.
Yeah.
We live in a symbiotic way where life is physical and spiritual. And I was once told where two groups meet, in the middle is the ātea, no matter where you are, where portals are opened. And
You've really got to look after yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're upholding the mana, the tapu, the wehi of yourself, of your people, of the group you're speaking on behalf of, and you're the keeper of the Māori, of this tradition.
Ana.
So you need to make sure that you have spiritual sustenance, and those things help you too, I roto I te whaikōrero. Nō reira, kanui e nā kōrero?
Ana.
Yeah.
Ka pai tari au. Nā tēnā hai te kotahi. I enjoyed that. I think that's he wāno ka hoki
Aye.
tātou ki te kōrero mo te whaikōrero I rungi a Taringa, and we can focus in on an area of whaikōrero. But this is an introduction.
Such a vast
discussion.
kaupapa, to touch on, and then I think with different people you have different experiences where people can talk about it. I actually wanted to ask you a lot about whaikōrero. Hoi no?
That could be another session.
Could be another session. Yeah.
Hoi anō e te iwi, anei mātou e mihi atu ana kia koutou katoa, koe nei tā tātou kaupapa I te rānei, and hea te waiata o tēnei wiki tari au?
Te waiata o tēnei wiki, I runga o ngā puke.
I runga o ngā puke. I thought you were going to keep going.
Nā.
Koe nei tā tātou waiata, e mihi tōna ana kia koe mara e
Mei
hoa.
ana kia kōrua.
Mau I whai wahi mai ki tā tātou wāhanga I te rānei, Taringa. Me koutou e te iwi, hoi anō, anei tā tātou waiata, whakarongo mai I runga o ngā puke, World War II, composed by Praere Tomoana.
Ka mutu pēa, au e te tau I runga o ngā puke, ka pā mai tō reo, hau mai ahi, hei kau e mai, he reo aroha, e pātai ana mai, he aha tau e pirangi nei. Kia Awhika atu I tō tinana engaro neira, I e neira. Tō aroha, ko tōku aroha, ka mutu pēa, au e te tau whai ho mai e tama, o kupu o ati, I runga o ngā puke, I tangi ai tāua, e haere ana koe, I wainga o te riri, tō reo aroha, ka rangara. Kia Awhika atu I tō tinana engaro neira, I e neira. Tō aroha, ko tōku aroha, ka mutu pēa, au e te tau ka mutu pēa, au e te pai.
Then that was our waiata for the week, and that's us, I think.
Didn't really want it to finish our kōrero on whaikōrero, ne?
Nah, Well, we're still on it at Awanui's tangihanga. The tangata whenua said, we'll pass the rākau to you fellas to finish up because there were so many kōrero. I think you have a confidence the way you got up off the pai to go toilet and you're on your phone and they go, oh, Praone's gone somewhere. You're like, kei te memi. But I'm like, that's cool. Yeah. Even though I'm starting with puro paihana, I was like, yeah.
And everyone's got their, and that's the thing is style.
Yeah, man. Everyone's got their style, eh? Yeah.
Everyone's got their own style. You'll see that style at the iwi when you go to the hui.
Yeah, when you go to the hui. Don't ask for the live feed.
Yeah. That could be another discussion another day.
Yeah.
How the internet has become a part of our whakahaere.
Yeah.
Ana koina tetai, I roto i te ao whaikōrero. Hoi anō, e mihi ana kia koutou katoa e te iwi, koe nei tātātai wahanga, e kōrero whakamutunga au e te hoa.
Kāre aka kupu. E mihi ana. Kōrua tahi, e hapa i tēnei kaupapa i pai mā ngā punua pāho.
Tēnā koe, tēnā hoki tātou katoa. Hei kona mai.
Ki o, whakarongo ki te tangi a te korimako. Kōrero flowing out the hook of force. Kaupapa relevant, kaupapa out of bounds. Kaupapa exigent, kaupapa paramount. Nā kona whakapiri mai ki te kaupapa tino whakahira whakarongo pi kari mai. Hare mai, o Taringa hare mai. We gotta gather up close everybody. Gather up close everybody. Kani move that body. Kani move that body.
Taringa. Brought to you by Te Wānanga o Aotearoa. To listen to more episodes, search for us on your podcast app and subscribe. Taringa. Whakarongo mai.